Mayor and Council, Sterling Solomon, your city attorney. Thank you for the opportunity to address this and just give a brief overview, if you will, of what this agenda item is tonight and what you have the opportunity to discuss. In August of 2022, a petition was received by the council requesting that the Flagstaff City Council, quote, discuss protecting Flagstaff residents from possible arrest and prosecution for providing, accessing, or assisting with abortion services. And not long after that, then Councilmember Aslan made a future agenda item request for council to discuss a potential resolution on the matter of abortion in light of the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision in Dobbs versus Jackson, which overturned Roe v. Wade. And also in light of state legislation related to abortion. So just for everyone's information here in Arizona, the cities of Tucson and Phoenix adopted resolutions expressing opposition to Dobbs and commenting on state legislation related to abortion. And Flagstaff City Council now has the same option and also has the option not to make any kind of statement by resolution at all. That is what tonight's agenda item is. It's essentially for council to discuss, potentially giving direction to my office to bring a potential resolution similar to Tucson's or Phoenix's back to the city council for consideration and possible adoption on March 7th at the regular meeting, or to not give such direction. If council directs my office to bring back a potential resolution, it will be very similar to that of Tucson's and Phoenix. As we were reminded during COVID, the state of Arizona regulates the health industry, not cities. And if you direct my office to bring a resolution back to you for consideration, it will be very similar to what Tucson and Phoenix did, i.e. it would not create a law, but it would make a statement only. And with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. So we have a number of comment cards and we have some online commenters, and I'm going to take public comment before I open it up to discussion from City Council. And as I said, we have quite a few, so if you feel like your voice has been heard in other statements and you want to waive making a statement, that's fine, just let me know when I call your name. Okay, first up we have Deborah Block.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name's Deborah Block. I'm a 30-year resident of Flagstaff, a member of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance, and a mother. Last year, in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision overturning the constitutional right to abortion, there was a vigorous effort to amend the state constitution regarding the right to reproductive freedom. Although there was limited time and resources to qualify for the 2022 ballot, in Coconino County, we collected signatures from 30% of the registered electorate in 35 days. We had people lining up to sign wherever we were in a public space. We know that the American public supports the right to abortion. On February 2nd, 2 members of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance joined the first meeting of Governor Hobbs' Reproductive Rights Ballot Measure Coalition. We are a coalition of national, state, and local organizations tasked with crafting and establishing a legal pathway to reproductive health care for every Arizonan. The governor is committed, as are we, to ensuring that bans and other restrictions on reproductive health care and access be eliminated. I was 15 when Roe v. Wade became law. As the youngest of 4 girls, I was already aware of the hardships endured when a pregnancy was unwanted, for whatever reason. Roe was an imperfect law, and equitable access was never ensured. We are now in a position to reconsider true bodily autonomy for every person. Control over one's body is fundamental to freedom. Considering that we are ostensibly a nation of laws that regulate what is and what is not legal, it is absurd for people to argue that one government, any government body, as representatives for the people, not engage in advocating for their constituents. On June 24th, 2022, 6 unelected, unaccountable Supreme Court justices upended the will of the majority. It is our duty to reclaim it. I ask that you move forward in supporting our city resolution, as well as an initiated amendment for the 2024 ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I did forget to mention, but you'll see it when you're up here, is that each speaker is given 3 minutes, and you'll see it start blinking red when you're getting down in your time. Next, we have Erica Christensen.
Hello, my name is Erica Christensen. I live with my husband and almost 6-year-old daughter in Sedona, where we moved to be closer to my mom or Grammy. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak as a neighbor whose family relies on Flagstaff for health care, like our kid's excellent pediatrician at Flagstaff Medical Center. I understand that abortion can be a hard issue for a lot of people to talk about, so I thank the council for taking it up today. I used to be someone who didn't think about abortion much, never mind talk about it in public. But that was before my husband Garen and I started down a long, hard road to becoming parents. We were months into a high-risk pregnancy when we learned the complications were much worse than our doctors had thought. In counsel with our doctors, we decided to have an abortion, which felt like the least terrible of all of our terrible options. But then we learned we were past our state's cutoff, a line we didn't know existed until we had crossed it. Not only would I not be able to get care from the doctors I had come to know and trust, I might not be able to get care at all. Then my doctor told us about a clinic in Colorado that specializes in complex cases like mine. Quickly, we charged last-minute flights, rental car, and hotel room. An out-of-state abortion wasn't covered by my insurance, so my mom took thousands of dollars out of her retirement fund to pay for it. On one hand, it felt confusing and punishing for the law to insert itself into my personal health care emergency. On the other hand, we felt incredibly lucky to have access to that money and wondered how others in our situation did without it. After it was all over, we felt both incredibly sad and relieved. Of course, terrible things happen, but we will never be able to legislate away bad pregnancy outcomes. What we can control are the laws that punish us for them or push care out of reach, especially for those already struggling. Abortion bans mean abortion is illegal at some point in pregnancy, carrying harsh criminal and civil penalties. They create pressure, exacerbate inequities, and deny care to those not able to surmount the massive barriers like I could. Today, my husband and I are parents of a smart, almost 6-year-old daughter. She exists because I was able to get a safe abortion. It is deep gratitude for the doctors and nurses who cared for me and deep concern for my daughter's future compelling me to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Councilmember McCarthy has a question. Erica?
Could you come back up? I just wanted to talk to you because you've had to go through this, and I'm sure you did not enjoy any part of that. If I'm not mistaken, the Roe decision set the limit at, of when you could have an abortion at viability. Does that make sense, or do you think even that rule is too burdensome for someone that...
I think that the human body does not follow legal timelines. And I think that when the law decides to insert itself into our bodies, into our health care, and draw lines about who's able to access care and who isn't, I think people are left out, and the people most likely left out are young people, very young people, people of color, particularly Black women, who have much higher rates of maternal mortality. I think abortion bans are not rooted in health or science, which is why they're wholly rejected by ACOG and SMFM. So if we look at the experts on this issue and what they say, they believe no abortion ban is just. Again, these are civil and criminal penalties. I mean, it's such a harsh punishment for people going through at what times are sort of urgent healthcare issues. And I think the role of government should be to remove barriers, not to build them.
I want to thank you. I'm getting emotional. I've never got emotional for my 7 years on council before. I want to thank you for coming up and speaking to us from your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Garen Marshall.
Hi, my name is Garen Marshall. I'm Erica's husband, actually. So you know where we live. We're from Sedona. We have family here in Flagstaff as well, and we come here often to spend money and get health care and see the snow. Sitting here today, I heard a number of issues important to this community, things like snow and ice removal, traffic and parking, flooding, zoning, education, water, stuff like that. All of it makes sense. But in the first comment today, the speaker referred to this issue of abortion as a sort of distraction, like a national issue outside of the purview of this council. And some others may share that view, but I wanted to challenge that. Arizona has over 40 abortion restrictions on the books. These include a 15-week ban on abortions performed by physicians, a Civil War-era total ban on abortion that threatens anyone else with a 2 to 5 year prison sentence, a mandatory 24-hour waiting period requiring 2 visits, which is a huge burden on rural folks, a telemedicine prescription ban on FDA-approved abortion pills, a ban on other medical professionals providing abortion care within their scope of practice, and there's many more. And these restrictions disproportionately affect younger people, low-income people, rural communities, and communities of color. And it's important to note that these laws affect people. So for anyone affected by these laws, I assure you this quickly stops being a national issue or even a state issue. It's a personal issue. And it was very personal for me and my wife. And it sure would mean a lot to folks in this community struggling to access abortion care over all of those bans if they knew that you, their city council, their mayor, had their backs. So I know it would have meant a lot to us if that had happened in our situation. A resolution addressing this sends a message. It says that the taxpayer-funded resources this city needs for all those other local concerns won't be used instead to target and punish pregnant people and their doctors. So I encourage you to push the legal limits, council, on what you can do as a body. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosanna Tarr.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Rosanna Tarr, and I'm a woman, and I'm opposed to abortion. I'm the mother of 5 children. Women deserve better than abortion. Now, I know that there are lots and lots of difficult situations out there. But women deserve loving, emotional, and sometimes physical help. Abortion hurts women emotionally, spiritually, and often physically. And women do die from legal abortions, and that includes the abortion pill. That's why there are groups like Silent No More, Rachel's Vineyard, and others to help women who are post-aborted. And to realize about 60% of the abortions are performed on women who are forced, coerced, and pressured into abortion. Where are their rights? But I didn't come here to debate the abortion issue. I came to say, you do not represent me, or the majority of the people that I know, in making any kind of resolution regarding the United States Supreme Court decision of Dobbs versus Jackson or the Arizona legislature's enactment of laws on abortion. You were elected to protect and enhance the quality of life of all Flagstaff citizens. Your job is funding the police, taking care of the infrastructure of this town, flood mitigation, public transportation, etc. Abortion is an incredibly divisive human rights issue, and the Flagstaff City Council to issue a position statement on abortion as though this statement reflects the attitudes and beliefs of all Flagstaff citizens is heavy-handed and disingenuous. Recent polls indicated that more than 50% of Americans support restrictions of some kind or another on abortions. So please, do not make any proclamation on this issue, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Roseanne. Sandra Engelke. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did perfectly, very well. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for giving me this opportunity. And I'd ask that those that don't share my opinion would be respectful and not be shaking their hands or commenting, because that's how we learn and are respectful to each other, which I think is great for our city. And as a resident of Flagstaff for nearly 45 years, raised all 5 children here, including 4 strong, independent business owner and women that are teachers. Our family does not support the city of Flagstaff making an official resolution on this matter. It is not appropriate or in the scope of this council to make a statement on behalf of the citizens of Flagstaff on the most divisive subject in our county, in our country. The council is charged with the responsibility to, quote, protect and enhance the quality of life for all, end quote, as stated in the mission statement for the city of Flagstaff. It would be prudent for council to save their energy and personal opinions to focus on protecting our city by providing excellent fire and emergency services, supporting law enforcement, enhancing alcohol and addiction services, enhancing flood control and fire suppression, and helping our homeless population, and ensuring our children can play safely at a city park without the real threat of witnessing a drunken fight or public urination. Ask young moms, and that's what we have to deal with when we go to Thorpe Park, Wheeler Park, Buffalo. I mean, it's awful. We need to focus on those situations. Please, council, I ask you to stay in your lane and manage the increasing crime and cost of living in Flagstaff, the job that you were elected to do. Please respect the diversity of all the citizens that call Flagstaff their home and refrain from issuing an official statement on this politically charged and divisive issue. Please respect my opinion. I will respect your opinion and let this go through the courts and through legislation and handle it there. But I think it's out of place for this city, who we could find 50% in support of this issue, 50% against. Please bring our city together and do not issue a proclamation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sandra. Emma Schreiner?
Hi. I don't have anything prepared. I'm just going to speak to you from my heart. I am a resident of Flagstaff. I grew up in a tiny town called Cornville, about 45 minutes south. And I want to bring attention to the intersection of sexual assault. And so, trigger warning for anyone in the audience that has had an experience or doesn't want to hear about that. I'm about to talk about that. So when I was in college, I went to NAU. I was about 21, and an intimate partner violently sexually assaulted me. I wanted to die. I felt like I had died, and in the wake of that, I wasn't thinking about Plan B. I didn't know that there were resources available in the community, and I didn't know about victim witness services. I tried to go to our police. I didn't even really like police, but I tried because I was told that's what you do, just to get an order of protection. And I was asked if I had a strong man to go sleep next to tonight to feel better. And I'm also here as a result of a legal life-saving abortion. My mother had an ectopic pregnancy, which she thought her appendix had ruptured, and it turned out that she had an ectopic pregnancy, and because of this legal life-saving abortion, I was born about a little bit over a year later. So I'm only able to speak to you here today because of that. And I fully intend, full discretion, I fully intend to fight to get resources into this community for reproductive health, because not only is it something that we never really had, it's something that is actually life-saving. And if I were pregnant, I don't think I would be here today. I don't think that I would have survived that. I just am speaking to you from my heart as a community member, and I just ask you to please acknowledge the deep impact that a legal system telling me what I can do and cannot do with my body affects, like how that affects me. It feels like being assaulted again every single time I read the news. Every single time I hear about a 15-year-old or an 11-year-old that's forced to carry to term, that is violence. And also silence is violence. So I ask that you please speak. Please use your voices for this. And I thank you for all the work that you're doing, and I thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Davidson.
Hi, I'm Joyce Davidson, Mayor Daggett and City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm a board-certified women's healthcare nurse practitioner and a clinical nurse specialist, and I've practiced in the Flagstaff community for 30 years in private practice at North Country Community Health Center and at Coconino County Community Health Center. I'm active in the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance, where I'm working on trying to figure out how we can restore abortion services in Flagstaff. Many in the public aren't aware that there are no abortion services in Flagstaff. And in northern Arizona, there are no abortion services north of the Phoenix area. And there have not been any services available for over a year, approximately. Abortion opponents and their allies in the Arizona state legislature, even before the Dobbs decision, have made it increasingly difficult for pregnant people to receive abortion services, especially in smaller cities and rural communities in Arizona. In 2021, which is the latest year that state statistics are available for, there were 185 abortions performed for residents of Coconino County. Now, none of these were carried out in Coconino County. They all had to travel at expense, time off of work, etc. And we are asking that you approve this resolution in hopes that we can dispel an atmosphere of fear and misinformation that exists in our community. We believe abortion is health care and should be part of the full range of reproductive services that people get from medical providers, whether that's from Planned Parenthood, their own private OBGYN, or their primary care physician. The Arizona legislature has banned abortion after 15 weeks. Prior to 15 weeks, the majority of abortions are not surgical, but they're performed by the ingestion of 2 oral pills 2 days apart, which have to be initially given in a provider's office. These pills have a very strong safety record. Arizona law requires that a medical physician provide this. This is something that by law cannot be prescribed by a nurse practitioner or physician's assistant as of 2019. Currently, there are no providers in Flagstaff through Planned Parenthood or privately that prescribe this medication. Please help us rid our community of fear and misinformation by passing a resolution that let the people of Flagstaff know that you believe we should have full access to abortion services. I'm asking that you support this resolution to support the providers in our community.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
Yep.
Councilmember Matthews has a question.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. I was just curious, you were saying that we don't have any abortion providers up here.
No.
Although abortions are allowed up to 15 weeks. Why is that? And it sounds like we haven't had abortion provider for multiple years, not just last year when these things changed.
Correct. Well, I can't answer that for you specifically as a nurse practitioner. I am not by law allowed to do that. Why there are not private physicians in the community that are not doing that, I can't really answer for any of my colleagues, but I'm sure there is a certain amount of fear in the community about that. Planned Parenthood, again, I'm not privy to what their decision making and their thought process is about that. But even prior to a year ago, there was only a provider up here once a week.
So before the overturn of Roe v. Wade or whatever it is now,
it's not.
We were not being provided that service up there. So this is not a new thing, correct? I mean, this is not something that just came about last year when
Planned Parenthood stopped providing termination services. As I said, I've been a resident here for 30 years, and when I first moved to Flagstaff, there were abortion services in Flagstaff all the time. I think that, you're asking me about a greater political issue as to what is the issue with Planned Parenthood here in Arizona, their lack of providers, their lack of funding. I just can't answer that for you, so I'm sorry, I can't really tell you what their thinking is about it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I was just trying to get clarity on was everything that happened last year the result of the lack of providers now, or has this been an ongoing issue for a long time?
It's fairly recent that there has not been a full-time services here in Flagstaff. Maybe more than a year, but fairly recently.
Susan Shapiro.
Hello, thank you for having me today. I'm here on behalf of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance, and I thank the council for putting this subject on the agenda, which is pursuant to our FAIR request submitted last August, which was signed by 83 citizens, which I think we gathered in a day or two. It's already been reiterated that this petition asked council to discuss protecting Flagstaff residents from possible arrest and prosecution for providing, accessing, or assisting with abortion services. And I'll note that since adopting a resolution is the most effective way to go about protecting citizens, at that time last August that we submitted the FAIR petition, we also provided copies of resolutions that have been adopted by other cities inside and outside Arizona. And so today, we have, with all due respect and deference, taken the further step of offering a draft resolution for your consideration. It's largely based on the Tucson and Phoenix resolutions, and includes statements of support for access to abortion as a safe procedure that's critical to the physical, psychological, and socioeconomic well-being of citizens. It acknowledges the history of Arizona laws that aim to limit or deny access to abortion care, and I'll note that there are additional bills that have been proposed by our current legislature. It acknowledges the disproportionate effect on minority and lower income people, which includes the many thousands of students in our city. It authorizes the police to not make a physical arrest for violation of Arizona abortion laws, and instead refer the matter to the Coconino County Department of Health Services. Something that we added from the Boise, Idaho's resolution was a statement to deny the use of city funds to store and catalog information on reports of providing or accessing abortion care, which gets to the issue of surveillance. We felt that was a gap in the other resolutions. And since the SCOTUS ruling, we are seeing attacks on reproductive health care all over the country. A Texas judge is set to outlaw mifepristone, an abortion medication that's been safely used for 25 years. Here in Arizona, the idea of sentencing women who get an abortion to death, the death penalty, has been floated. Luckily, I don't think that got out of committee. Laws designed to enshrine fetal personhood likewise are designed to criminalize abortion. The presence of the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is an anti-LGBTQ hate group, advising our legislature is deeply troubling. So we turn to you now, since you have the unique authority and responsibility for protecting the citizens of our beautiful city. And we urge you to act without delay to adopt a meaningful resolution that offers such protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Kyle Nitsky.
Mayor Daggett, Vice Mayor Aslan, and council members, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Kyle Nitschke, and I'm the co-executive director of the Arizona Students Association. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Students Association. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We were originally founded in 1974 by the student body presidents of U Arizona, U of A, ASU, and NAU to advocate for student interests. Throughout our organization's history, we've registered tens of thousands of students and worked hard to get young voters out to the polls. This last year, we saw the second highest midterm election turnout for young voters. And while we're still waiting for full analysis of last year's election results, today we're able to look at votes cast by precinct. We've seen on our college campuses voters overwhelmingly voting for Democrats, for Katie Hobbs, for Chris Mays, and for pro-reproductive justice agenda. For example, on NAU's campus, 93% of voters, of students voted for Katie Hobbs. And then this is congruent with what we've seen on the ground, organizing at our public universities. Students overwhelmingly support the right to abortion, and many of our students who attend from out of state are appalled by our state's abortion laws and the lack of access once they learn about it. We've also seen thousands of students and Flagstaff residents attend pro-abortion rallies, saw incredible community support behind the ballot initiative last summer, and now you have the attention and support of the students behind you tonight as well. We've identified that there's support around this issue for our students. I want to speak briefly to why it is your responsibility as City Council to take action. A little bit more background on the Students Association first. When we're not registering voters, we are organizing and advocating at various levels of government for issues that are important to students. For example, the Students Association is sending students to DC to lobby next Monday and Tuesday around student loan debt forgiveness for the Supreme Court case. We have a registered lobbyist at the state legislature, and we'll be bringing over 50 students from across the state to the Capitol later this month. We've also had the opportunity to work in statewide coalitions around ending the filibuster, voting rights, and education policy, and I bring this up to give some credibility to my next statement, and it is that our state and federal government are broken and really incapable of addressing the abortion rights issue. At the state level, we're stuck with this 15-week abortion ban. And Republicans are trying to pass worse abortion laws, knowing it's just going to get vetoed by Katie Hobbs. There's no meaningful conversation like we've had today around the real effects of abortion to our residents. I'm trying to speed through some things real quick. At the federal level, Republicans control yada, yada, yada. The federal landscape, I mean, it's a mess. And when we talk about abortion federally, like, things are mired in politics and religion and culture. So tonight, I really hope that you learn that abortion is not a complicated political issue. It's health care. It's a human right, and it is your duty and your responsibility to step in when the state and federal governments have been unable to protect our residents and our students. Flagstaff has been a leader for the state on several fronts, and so we're here today asking for your leadership again. The Arizona Students Association asks that council move forward with the resolution that the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance has proposed, and then use your personal and professional connections to work to bring needed health care to Flagstaff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Marilyn Wiseman.
Mayor Daggett and City Council, my name is Marilyn Weissman. I'm a 30-year resident of Flag. I'm speaking today to support the City Council moving forward with this resolution. I've been asked recently, why should the City Council weigh on an issue like the Dobbs decision, a court decision that has no jurisdiction over? I myself have been writing letters to our Congress, Senate, and President and have been demonstrating in support of abortion rights. So why am I appealing to you tonight? You are the most accessible and closest representatives to my government. You have influence, you have paid lobbyists. You are the leaders of my community. I would think that an unwanted pregnancy could potentially affect at some point in their lives most everyone in this town. As you've learned, it is currently impossible to get an abortion in Flagstaff, and all sorts of obstacles are put in that way when you do find an abortion provider in a bigger city. The Arizona courts and legislature are still at this moment working on ways to completely ban abortion. Should you, City Council, the leaders of our community, stand by while our rights are being eroded away? You make value judgments all the time in the decisions you make. Haven't you already decided to protect our community from the ravages of climate change? To work to ensure that everyone in Flagstaff has a roof over their head? To prevent any in the LGBT community from being discriminated against? Why would you not want to create a community that protects a person's right to control their own body, that protects a doctor's ability to provide health care for their patients? Why doesn't our town have an abortion provider? Maybe the anti-abortion forces have been successful in intimidating doctors to answer this need. If you support abortion rights, wouldn't you want to create a community where patients and doctors don't have to fear receiving or performing a necessary procedure? Our community already understands that abortion is a right we have had for 50 years, a right that other countries are only now just obtaining, but that we are in danger of completely losing. You have the opportunity tonight to begin to show our governor and attorney general that you support their efforts to stop this madness and restore, to show our state legislature that you do not support their efforts to ban abortion, and to show your constituents that you will stand up for them. I'm asking you to be leaders tonight and do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Dr. Sanjam. Will you say that again when you...
I will. Thank you so much. That's Sandra Maluwalia. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I am speaking here tonight as a mother, as a long-term resident of Flagstaff. I've been here for 27 years. And as a member of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance, as an educator, and someone who does research in the area of reproductive history and reproductive care. And I just want to reiterate a lot of stuff that has been said. I have the luxury of usually speaking for 50 minutes to 1 hour, 15 minutes in a classroom, so I'm going to do this in 3 minutes. I just want to say that we believe no ban is a good ban, is something that we believe in at the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance. We firmly support bodily autonomy for everyone, for all our citizens, and we are really here, and the resolution has been placed to lift the 15-week ban that's in place in Arizona. And I think in light of that conversation that we are having around abortion and reproductive care, this is also a good time to really revisit what we have on the books in Arizona, which is really a racist sex selection abortion ban. And it targets, as some of you may know, it targets the Asian diaspora, the immigrant community, and the BIPOC community here. And sex selection is really not, we don't have any data suggesting that sex selection is a problem in the United States. It is a problem in places like India and in China. But here it seems to be, as someone has rightly said, a solution in search of a problem. We really don't have a problem with sex selection. The other issue that I want to talk about in terms of restricting access to reproductive care, as an intersectional feminist, I just want to say that we are extremely mindful of the discrimination that people face due to disabilities, and we are not, I want to repeat this, we are not making an ableist argument, But however, in light of the challenges of living in an ableist society, we ask that there be no restrictions placed on abortion access in situations where there is an unviable pregnancy or an unviable fetus or fetus with disabilities. And we ask that till such time that we have services and structures in place to provide additional support for families who take care of their loved ones in these challenging situations. Till such time that we don't have those in place, we ask that there be no ban and there be no restrictions, on abortion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Julian Bernhardt.
This working? Oh my God. Hi everybody. Thank you so much for letting me speak today. Thank you so much for putting this on the agenda. My name is Julian Bernhardt. My pronouns are he, they, she, in whatever order you're comfortable with. I use all three of them. I'm an NAU student studying psychology and political science. I'm a born resident of Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm related to the Stump family, if any of you know. I know, right? Yikes. We don't share the same views. I am the oldest of 8 children, and I am here on behalf of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance. In April of 2022, I went through an assault on campus, and it changed my life. And when I went to campus and talked about what had happened, they gave me a pamphlet and said, "Good luck." Now imagine if I was pregnant and I needed an abortion, or if any of my siblings needed an abortion, or if there was no resources available, like there is to this day. There are no resources available for us in Flagstaff. I'm here to speak as the head of the NAU chapter for the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance and say that the NAU students are committed to having abortion access in whatever way, shape, and form that comes in. We support the resolution and we support moving forward on that because there are more NAU students coming every day, as well as we stand with CCC students too. We stand with collective students to say that we need this resolution to pass because even though we can't get an abortion in Flagstaff, some of us don't have the money to go down to Phoenix and get an abortion. It's just not feasible for us. Some of us don't know the resources that are available through Coconino County Health. I just recently found out them. We go to Campus Health, they give us a pamphlet and say, "Good luck." We need resources available to us. And if resources aren't going to be provided, if we can't get a practitioner up here, if we can't get somebody to help us, we need to have a resolution that protects us within the realms of the legislation already. I don't really have much else to say but that I'm committed to this issue, and there are so many students like myself who are committed to this, who are here with me tonight. And whether it be when we talk about quality of life, and how it's important that we need to uplift our firefighters and our police and everything like that and have people who will support that. If you're forced to carry a pregnancy, if you're forced to deal with any of sorts of trauma, if you're handed a pamphlet and say, "Good luck," if you're handed a piece of legislation that says, "Good luck, you're gonna carry this child," then you're not gonna wanna be able to help going forward. I wanted to die, as so many others did too. We shouldn't have to feel that way, but we can't go forward unless we have a resolution that helps us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jasmine V. Thanks for putting the phonetic pronunciation of your name there.
I usually like to put V for victory, but I held off this time. Thank you all. My name is Jasmine V. I am a rep here with the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance. And I want to thank you for hearing us in our fears and concerns that this Dobbs decision and the surge of anti-abortion laws in Arizona are negatively impacting the people of Flagstaff, as well as folks and our neighbors in other northern Arizona communities that must rely on our healthcare services. Currently, there are 0 abortion services offered in northern Arizona. Medication abortions were suspended at the Flagstaff Planned Parenthood Clinic when the Dobbs decision and subsequent 1864 territorial ban went into effect, and no surgical abortions have been offered in decades. At the moment, there are no plans to reinstate services at Planned Parenthood Flagstaff anytime soon. Right now, the only in-state abortion providers are in Phoenix and Tucson, which necessitate an overnight stay for the 2 in-person clinic appointments required by our state, at least 24 hours apart. For many in Flagstaff in northern Arizona, this creates insurmountable barriers with dangerous, life-altering consequences. For this purpose, we are asking our local representatives to support a resolution that protects pregnant people from the inhumane and restrictive abortion bans being lobbied across Arizona. Currently, under Arizona law, there are 40 bans and restrictions centered specifically on abortion and provider care. These bans and restrictions deny Arizonans explicit constitutional rights to privacy and freedom of choice in medical decision-making. Furthermore, they undermine one's agency in making informed decisions about their reproductive care, places dehumanizing and costly obstacles in the way of patients seeking abortion care. They hinder the provision of accurate and timely medical care and information. They place undue burden on those providing abortion-related care, like the people here in our community. And they limit the ability of persons in rural and low-income communities to access abortion services. Even more so, abortion bans and restrictive legislative policies are medically unsound and motivated by misguided religious ideology, politicalization, and tyranny. We ask you, our city representatives, to please support efforts to ensure that families in Flagstaff and our greater northern Arizona communities have access to the full range of safe and effective options for reproductive health care. Currently, resolutions protecting abortion are being widely adopted by city councils around the state and country, as was highlighted by council today. And we are hoping the Flagstaff City Council will do the same. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Mia Rodriguez.
Hi, my name is Mia Rodriguez. I'm a student at NAU, and I'm a member of the Flagstaff Abortion Alliance. I was not taught about abortion growing up. It was not until my late teens that I found out how much this really affects us. People of color, LGBTQ, and low-income individuals are all affected by the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I'm all 3, and I'm worried for the future of not just me, but my 15-year-old sister, who's constantly pressured into growing up in a country where her body is not going to be hers by the time she's my age. My mother raised us on her own. I have 3 charms. This is my mom and my sister and I. And if not for abortion, my sister would not be on here. She did her best to shield us from a world where our bodily autonomy was being taken away from us, and I was 12 years old. I knew something was not right, and by the time that Roe v. Wade was overturned, I knew I had to do something. I have a chance now. I have a chance to speak up, and we all have a chance to speak up and make a change. I will not stop advocating for the rights of those who are disadvantaged, discriminated against, and discouraged from basic health care. Abortion is health care. It should be for anyone who wants it or needs it. This is not just my future. We are all affected by this. It does not matter where you are, who you are, or where you come from. This is something that affects us and will continue to affect us until a change is made. Thank you.
Thank you. Emma Burns.
Good evening. Thank you guys for taking the time to have this important discussion with us today. My name's Emma Burns, and I'm a student here at NAU. I think I speak for a lot of students here when I say I didn't choose to go to school at NAU because I fell in love with the lumberjack lifestyle. I chose to come here because I love Flagstaff. In this community, I've always felt safe and protected. And like you guys, the leadership here has citizens' best interests in mind. I ask you today to affirm those assumptions by passing a resolution in support of abortion access. This issue hits very close to home to me. When I was 19 in my sophomore year of college, I learned that I was pregnant. Upon reading the test results, I could fathom two outcomes. I would either exercise my right to choose or I would take my own life. That sounds dramatic, but I could not see another way out. I was lucky. I am privileged. I have the financial resources to use my reproductive freedom rights. I had access to safe medical care and accessible doctors. That was when we had a doctor once every week here in Flagstaff. So those two appointments had to happen a week in between each other. So I would go to class in between and have to live with knowing what was going on because we already had such sparse abortion access at the time. But still, I was lucky. Although I was terrified, and I still am terrified to be honest, I had it easy. As we sit here tonight, individuals in Arizona no longer have access to these rights or services. If this was me, and if this was the case when I was 19, I know what I would have done. I wouldn't be alive to speak to you here today. I'm afraid that if action is not taken, we leave countless other individuals to be backed into this very same corner. What happens next and what dire actions are taken by individuals who don't know what to do and are being denied care by these recent decisions will be the product of the actions or inactions of today. Please help us continue to feel safe here in Flagstaff. If the mission of the city of Flagstaff is to protect and enhance the quality of life of all of its citizens, you have to make sure we're alive here first. This resolution should be a no-brainer. Thank you for your time and care. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Sydney Shabbat.
Hi, my name is Sydney Shabbat. I am a Flagstaff resident, I'm a graduate student, and I'm a sexual assault survivor. So after one of these assaults, I was sure that I was pregnant. I was trying to figure out what my options are, what my resources were, and while doing that, I learned that Planned Parenthood, you can only get an abortion after 6 weeks. And so this 15-week abortion ban isn't 15 weeks, it's 11 weeks or less. And as we've learned so far, there was only, at this time actually, there was one provider in Flagstaff who was there one day every 2 weeks. So I had very limited time. Luckily, I didn't get pregnant, but if I did, I wouldn't be in graduate school. I wouldn't be going to get a PhD next year. So let's discuss the reason behind the Dobbs v. Jackson ruling. So the opinion of the court states that because the Constitution, which we know was written in 1787, it didn't mention abortion. So SCOTUS thinks that they shouldn't have to rule on abortion, and that's why they overturned Roe v. Wade, but then made Dobbs v. Jackson, which then criminalized abortion. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. And you know what else the Constitution doesn't mention? It doesn't mention women at all in the Constitution. So are we real if we're not even mentioned in it? Also, the Constitution says that black people are 3/5 a person. That doesn't make any sense. So why are we basing this decision off of a document written by men, non-producing humans, in 1787? It doesn't make any sense. And especially a reproductive rights decision, like I said, they can't reproduce, so why are we even listening to people who are long dead and who didn't obviously have a lot of, weren't very progressive at all? And so I'm just asking, so please don't base your decision on what SCOTUS says or what, the document Dobbs v. Jackson says, because you should care about this issue, because global change happens locally first. So you have to be the change in this community in order to see the change globally. And so please just don't force people to give birth. And I also just want to mention that there was a stat brought up earlier, 50%, Flagstaff is divisive, 50%. I don't know that statistic. I've never heard of that statistic, but I ask you to look in this room and see, does it look like 50-50 out here? Where are they? I am working right now. I had to leave work to come here. I'm on call right now, and I came here, so what's their excuse? They're just not here because it's not real. They don't care. So I ask you to please be the change in this community and be the change for people who have been assaulted, for people who don't want a child for any reason. Just be there for them and care for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney. You could, okay, thank you. Eka Joshi. Joshi.
Eka Joshi. I've been
Joshi.
correcting substitute teachers for all of the 16 years that I've lived in Flagstaff, Arizona. I am a high school junior here, and I'm here speaking to you today in support of this resolution. For my entire life, Flagstaff has not only been my hometown, but my community. And all I have to say to you tonight is this: I can't vote. Legally speaking, I have no say in the decisions made about this issue here in this room today. But I am part of the generation that is going to grow up dealing with the ramifications of the choices that you make today. And I am afraid. I do not want to grow up in a community where I do not have the basic right to bodily autonomy, and I do not want that for my peers. You here today have the power to make a decision that safeguards our dignity, our reproductive health, and our bodies. This is something that you can do through this resolution, and all I have to say to you today is that I hope you can find it in yourselves to do that for the future of your community. Thank you.
Thank you. David Monahan, Jr.
Mayor and Council, I almost passed over this agenda item because there were no links to it. Now that it was mentioned, that past petition, I do recall that, but there was no description there to tell me what you were thinking about. There must be something. There was a reference to the state legislature, so I searched the state legislature site for the word abortion. The top return was regarding live birth. I'm against letting a baby that's born die. The next two were parental consent. I'm against the state being able to take a child off and do something to them without the parent's consent or knowledge. It starts dropping off after that, so didn't know what you were up to. That seems a lack of transparency that let my imagination run off. This is a partisan political issue, as a number of speakers have clearly stated before you, both for and against, more for this resolution. But you were elected on a nonpartisan platform. I want you to not do partisan politics. Do Flagstaff. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Sabrina Hershey.
Hi. I didn't have anything prepared, so this might be a little bit rough. I just wanted to touch on one subject that I kept hearing brought up, was that the purpose of this council is fire, EMS, making sure the city runs well. Well, I'm a woman and I work in fire and EMS, and I would say that reproductive rights are essential to my ability to do my job. I mean, if I got pregnant, I couldn't work in fire this season when our forests are burning. And not just myself, like, I've seen women, friends, mentors deal with reproductive issues and need health care so they can do their jobs. These are people that have saved the lives of Flagstaff residents and, you know, led teams into the forest to help fight the fires. I've worked in places that retain women and places that don't. And it's not just a quota to meet for diversity. I'd say that the places that have women and protect them are a much more effective and healthy workforce to be in. So it's all I had to say. I feel like people have done such a good job at covering this topic. I just want to point, this is like within your purview. Making sure the city runs well and protecting the women and people that can have children and those reproductive rights will improve the quality of Flagstaff's workforce and fire, EMS, police, things that seem to be the argument against y'all making this decision. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Sabrina. So we have a couple of online commenters as well.
Mayor and Council, we have one commenter tonight. Andrea, you may go ahead and address Mayor and Council.
Hi, thank you for giving me the time to speak to you. I was trying to be there in person, but unfortunately, life happens. I originally looked into speaking to the council after my son and I saw a person on Solier this weekend being hauled off in a body bag. It was very upsetting. And so I looked into talking to the council about this issue. And in looking at that, I saw the agenda, and I saw nothing about homelessness, which is a much bigger problem for the city of Flagstaff right now than abortion. And the reason I say that is to reiterate what some other people have said. Abortion is a personal issue. As I was sitting here listening to every speaker before me, I heard many viewpoints. The biggest that stood out again was it's a personal issue. Nowhere in the city council mission, vision, or values does it say, are you supposed to make a proclamation on healthcare or life choices? The city council needs to focus on real issues for the citizens of Flagstaff. Issues that you can change, issues that you can impact, issues that you can make changes and make an impact. A proclamation of the city's support of abortions is not making a change. All it does is says, this select group of people, whoever is willing to sign that proclamation, has the opinion on abortions. If you truly feel it is necessary to make such a broad proclamation, then I challenge you to put it to a vote. Put it to a vote of the citizens of Flagstaff. I've read over the proclamations from Tucson and Phoenix. What I read is by making a proclamation such as this, you are giving a directive to our police department and courts to look the other way while the law is broken. What's next? Are you going to make a proclamation on assault, theft, or DUI? I disagree that it's your responsibility or within your role. I again draw attention to the mission, vision, and values of the City Council. I'm sure I lost half of you the moment I finished saying it's a personal choice. So let me say it again. This is not your choice as a council to make a proclamation such as this. As a constituent in the city of Flagstaff, I say do not make this proclamation. Put your focus, time, and energy into education, growing our police department, and resources that can make a difference. And in addition to what the young lady just said, that she works for the city of Flagstaff, make it so her insurance will go to take her to another state if she needs to. You can make that change. That is within your power. However, if you make this proclamation...
Thank you, Andrea. Your 3 minutes is up.
All right.
I hope I didn't break anyone's eardrums with that. Any other online comments? No other in-person comments? Okay, so now we're going to turn it inward and have a discussion among council. And what I'd just like to kick it off by saying that every person who came here to speak tonight showed a lot of bravery for getting up and speaking. And I know from experience that it can be a little nerve-wracking to speak before council, so I just want to acknowledge that and thank all of the speakers for having the courage to come and make your views known, and also for exercising your rights as a resident of the community. I very much appreciate watching that in action, so thank you. All right, now opening up to council. Councilmember Matthews has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. And I hope this flows. I did write it down just so I could keep up with my train of thought since I'm a little ADD. And I revised it a couple of times, so I apologize if I sometimes don't make sense. But But I'd first like to start off saying I want to acknowledge and state my appreciation for our legal department, who put several hours of research, time, and preparation providing us with a clear legal information to equip the 7 of us to discuss this very hot topic. I'd also like to acknowledge and express appreciation for our local citizens who were informed about the future agenda item request topic on tonight's agenda and had taken the time to express your concerns, your support, or opposition. I just want to say that we hear you, we hear your emotions and your passion on both sides of this issue, but I will say this several times here, that the Flagstaff City Council cannot change the law, and we cannot protect your right to abortion. As City Council, we are faced with making decisions that impact many people's lives, and most of the time, some citizens will agree with our decisions and some will not. This decision tonight is guaranteed to upset a good portion of citizens, regardless of the steps we take moving forward. No law change or ordinance will be accomplished tonight. A resolution cannot do what the majority have requested, which is to protect your right to abortion. We can only make a politically charged statement. The discussions surrounding abortion laws are emotionally charged, divisive, and politically motivated. State and U.S. representatives are tasked with making or changing state or federal laws. State lawmakers are responsible for making or changing abortion laws. As one of the public speakers stated tonight, this issue of abortion was the main issue driving voters to the ballot box this last November. So we now have a body of lawmakers representing the majority of Arizona and their views on abortion. Many have said tonight that abortion has not been available in northern Arizona in some time, so even before Dobbs versus Jackson was overturned, there was lack of women's abortion protection rights up here. Flagstaff City Council representatives are responsible for local policy making regarding all things Flagstaff, like zoning changes, stormwater capital improvements, infrastructure projects, snow removal, and at times making special renaming of foots trails to honor special locals like Cosmic Ray. In this time, hold on. In this time and space, I wish we were discussing actions and ideas to address our housing crisis, our traffic congestion, or how we can support local businesses and our local economy, but instead, we are discussing a politically charged resolution making strong statements which will surely upset many citizens, but sadly do not have any authority to make the changes or set any ordinance. A resolution is only a statement. From day one, I've struggled with the question as to how I am going to make sure that to the best of my abilities, that the decisions and votes I make as I serve as a representative of the Flagstaff community at large do indeed represent the community and not my personal interest or beliefs. I know that this is challenging, but I think it is our job to always strive to achieve this. We received several emails and now in-person public comments representing about 0.000125% of the population here. Some people support an abortion resolution and some oppose a resolution of this nature. Many who are supporting the resolution seem to be under the misconception that SB 1164 bans all abortions, as well as believe that the City Council can change the law or enact a local ordinance protecting locals' abortion rights. They are incorrect on all counts. SB 1164 allows abortions up to 15 weeks. We cannot pass an ordinance protecting abortion rights. So why are we talking about this very politically and emotionally charged issue just to make a political statement that clearly does not represent the community as a whole? We took an oath of office when we were assigned this to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the state constitution and its laws. And until those laws change, we have to abide by that because that's the oath of office we take. So I will be later making my vote on this based on the oath of office that we've taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everyone that came out to speak tonight. And as I'm speaking now, it's very difficult for me not to be emotional about this. I think it took a lot of bravery for many of you to share your stories. And I think it would be an act of cowardice of me not to join you in sharing that this is a personal experience and narrative for me as well. It's a challenging thing for me to share this because I know that I have family and friends that watch this that don't necessarily know some of what I would like to share with you this evening about my own personal experiences and may not agree with some of my views on this topic. However, as a survivor of sexual assault, as a woman of color, and as a member of this community who values the voices and inputs of all, who puts a lot of stock in the mission of our city, which is to protect and enhance the quality of life for all. I don't see this as a politically charged issue. I see this as a personal one. I see it as one that is working to advance that mission. I know that there are limits to what we can do, and I know that there will be disappointments in some of what we cannot do with a resolution that we may pass. However, I fervently support moving forward with that because I believe that if we can make a statement to support the people of our community, then that is part of our role as members of the City Council. I'm challenged very much by some of the comments that talked about what we should be focusing on instead of this, primarily because I don't think that it is an either-or question that we're being faced with. It is a both-and. Housing is of major importance to me. Supporting our police and fire and emergency services is of major importance to me, as is protecting and enhancing the quality of life of all, which includes even a statement about our support of the access to health care for the women of our community and those of the LGBTQIA community who have unique experiences in this, members of the disability community who have unique experience in this, and members of the BIPOC community who have unique experiences in this. So I understand that this is a discussion for us tonight. I am in support of moving forward with seeking legal guidance and continue conversations about a resolution that we could put forward. And I just want to say again, thank you to everyone that came out to speak tonight. And I want to ensure that it's understood that that includes those who spoke against this resolution. Because I have said throughout my time on council that every voice in this community matters, even those that don't agree. So that's it for me this evening, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Councilmember Harris?
There, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, sorry, can't tell. First of all, let me apologize to the audience for not being there in person. I was really looking at the weather and decided I might be safer at home, but it is not because I did not think that this issue was important. And that's why I turned my camera on when we got to this issue, because it is important. When I ran for office, I did not give up my rights as an individual citizen. Many of us have strong feelings on this subject. It is unfortunate that this has been made a political issue. I should have the right to make decisions about my body, about my health, what's important to me, whether that is a matter of abortion, cancer treatment, or any other operation that I may need. I am a pro-choice. All of us should be able to make personal decisions about our bodies. I am in the support of requesting that our legal staff look at drafting a resolution that is appropriate for what we are discussing tonight. As an African-American woman, and especially a woman at my age, I know what it's like personally not to have rights or to have your rights taken away or not have the inalienable rights that other people had. It was people like those of you here tonight who made it possible for a person like me to be able to sit on the dais and to listen to this conversation. It was people like those of you here tonight who helped to secure the rights that I now enjoy. It is my responsibility as a council member to do the best that I can to provide whatever support and assistance that I can for the members of our community. Every issue that you bring to the dais or you bring to this council is important. Every issue deserves to have the same amount of attention that any issue has. And so with that, I'm in support of us drafting, at least directing our staff to look at drafting a resolution. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Any other? Councilmember Sweet?
Thank you. I want to start off by stating I am in support of a woman's right to choose, and I support the fundamental rights a woman should have over her body. We have heard from people with varying opinions on this topic, and somehow we need to figure out a way to come together and move forward. This is our chance to make a stance, show who we are as a community and as leaders, and to create a safe place for all. I want to thank everyone for the emails and for those who are here tonight. I want to thank my colleagues for speaking their truth. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and honesty you've all brought to the dais. This topic isn't easy. I appreciate you all for speaking up. While the community will always have differing views and opinions on topics such as this is one where I feel I need to make myself clear and that I will always support a woman's right to choose. And with that, I support directing staff to draft a resolution similar to the Tucson and Phoenix one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sweet. Councilmember McCarthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I want to talk to the audience. I really appreciate the testimony we heard tonight. Everyone on both sides of this issue was given a chance to enunciate their viewpoint. I'd like to say that I'm old enough. I have grandchildren. I've never been involved in an abortion, a woman that I've been with, but I've known people that have gone through it for various reasons. Abortion is a personal and very difficult decision, and we heard some testimony on that tonight. I want to stress that it's a personal decision. What in the hell is the government involved in an issue like this? That's my opinion. So, I support a resolution that will urge the legislature to change the law to allow the right of abortion, which has been the law of the land for 50 years. And I wish we could do more, but my understanding of the law is we can't do more than that. It's up to the legislature, but we can urge them to do what needs to be done. And that may not happen in the next 6 months, it may not happen in the next year, but it needs to happen. And I think that the history is moving in that direction. So I strongly support the legal staff coming up with as strong a resolution as is possible. And I understand that there are limits on that, but it should be as strong as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some notes here. I didn't prepare any comments because I wanted to be able to speak authentically off the cuff with all of you. And I knew that this was going to be a somewhat organic situation. And it's really nice to see a room full of warm bodies on such a cold evening. We haven't had a lot of public participation since COVID. Something happened there somewhere around midnight 2020. that affected the dynamic that I was used to coming in to council. And I'm just really grateful for everyone who came here in person and to everyone who was able to be with us remotely as well. This is an important topic. I think it's one worthy of discussion, and I'm glad we're having this discussion. I am proud of my role in bringing this forward to council for discussion, and I'm sorry that I can't do more and that I feel that there are some complications here that prevent us from going as far as I personally would like to. You know, things get binary real fast the higher we go in government. And most issues are inherently gray, I believe. And it's one of the reasons that I was attracted to local politics and local service, is because we can actually get stuff done here at this level. We can talk about complexity, we can talk about complicated issues, and we still have to buy milk together at the grocery store. So there's a level of retailness to this that's real, and it's a place I like to be, and I like to explore gray areas, and I like to think that I can think about issues from multiple perspectives. My life's journey has taken me from one of a very sort of traditional, staunchly Catholic, pro-life position. I even marched against Roe versus Wade in Washington, D.C. as a high school student, to one where I would agree that this isn't complicated, as someone said, and I think it was Kyle who said this isn't complicated. It's very clear to me where to fall on these issues right now. But these issues are complex. And the more that we can be respectful for each other and acknowledge the complexity involved, the values complexity, the legal complexity, I think we can make real progress forward. And maybe this is the proving ground. This is the auger plate upon which we can have actual dialogue, mutual respect, and come to a new understanding with each other. And that can rise up to the national level and change the dynamic for those of us who are students and are scared for our future and for our friends and their future. You know, I don't want to be pigeonholed, and I've talked to Marilyn about this a lot. You know, I'm kind of a reluctant warrior here in this arena. Because I do think that abortion can be painful. I don't think that abortion is a go-to solution. I think there are other ways that we can address a lot of these problems. I don't think the pro-life movement does a good job of actually being pro-life. I think that they quickly get zeroed in and focused on one element to this, and I can appreciate the perspective that they bring and how urgent and concerning it is. So just because we can see this issue without complexity doesn't mean that a different side doesn't have the same amount of complexity to it. Anyway, the bottom line is that I feel strongly this is a matter between a woman, sometimes their family, and a healthcare provider. Someone said abortion is healthcare, and I fully agree with that. At the end of the day, this is not a decision that government needs to be involved in. And, you know, so everyone has shared a lot of personal stories here. I have the ability to philosophize about this a little bit. You know, I grew up as a community organizer, and one of our principles was those who aren't close to the problem can afford to philosophize. And so I just want to acknowledge that privilege because I don't have personal experiences that bring this level of urgency to the table. But I do have a daughter who's going off to college this year. I'm concerned about what level of health care is going to be available to her on campus in the dorms, wherever she ends up. And I have a son, a 13-year-old son, who probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman's right to choose and a robust healthcare system that was able to respond nimbly and quickly to an emergency situation. My wife had an ectopic pregnancy, and I was in San Diego on at a work convention, a retreat of some kind, when all this happened, and it was all over and done with within a 36-hour period. I didn't even make it home in time to be a supportive part of that process. My wife was in and out of the hospital and recovering by the time I returned home from San Diego. And her reproductive system was intact, and we were able to go on and complete our family the way we wanted to. So I do have the experience of knowing how important it is for a woman to be able to receive the care they need right away without respect to any arbitrary windows being set up by political bodies somewhere off in the distance. You know, these issues are weird. Youth access to gender-affirming practice is something that I personally brought up earlier this evening. And you know, I have complicated feelings about all of that. I have questions, but it's not my role to legally block families from struggling with the complexities on their own. And I see that as very much part of the same conversation. This is a private matter between family members and healthcare providers. It's not for me to value in my own will into the situation. I do think the Supreme Court has moved backwards on this case, and I'm very disappointed, and I'm sorry that I've lived to see the day where our Supreme Court is holistically taking rights away from entire portions of our constituents and our people and our community. It's really frustrating to see. So I want to talk about the issue of whether or not we should do a resolution, or what's the point of doing a resolution. I just wanted to touch upon that real quickly. You know, I'm not one to rush towards resolutions as a way to operate up here. I think it should be done sparingly, and I have supported resolutions in the past, not many. I do reserve the right to weigh in on a resolution now and then, and I think it can be used effectively if it is a sparing tool. I also think we are able to walk and chew gum at the same time. It's a little insulting to hear that we're losing our focus by looking at this and not just filling potholes out there. You know, this isn't a zero-sum game. This is important to a lot of people. It's going to be important to people who aren't even paying attention to this conversation at all right now. And we have a right to weigh in. And, you know, what's the point of a resolution? Well, it creates space for a conversation like this, for one. And it creates space for community problem solving and for that level of dialogue and mutual respect to rise up and become a new model for how do we do this at the national level. The other thing, you know, someone said that it means a lot to know that you have our backs, one of the first speakers. And that's what this is about for me. You know, at the beginning of the month, we declared a proclamation for Black History Month. Lots of whereases and therefores, acknowledging the shared history we have, the harms, the healing. And it was just a very enriching thing for this body to be able to do. And so a resolution from time to time is an appropriate way to express a majority opinion and feeling about the way things are going. And we do it in all sorts of forms, and this is a legitimate, authentic way to do that. You know, and I want the community to know that the majority of council has its back on this issue. That's important to me. So, you know, this won't go as far as some of you want because it can't, and that's where the legal complexity comes into this. We're not where this battle needs to play out in terms of its end game, but I would like our community to know that council majority has your back. And I would just like to add that I would like to go as far as we legally can to make sure that Flagstaff knows that we are breathing down the neck of law enforcement and bringing to bear the weight that we are able to make sure that our police force and others are staying in their lane and not getting too involved in enforcement on these matters as we're able to. And I don't know that the resolution we have before us right now goes as far as it can. I think some of the additional language that was presented to us by the Abortion Alliance late this afternoon at 12:45 p.m., I think, should be finessed and toyed with, City Attorney, to the extent that we can. I would press for us to go right up to the line where we can. And remember, too, we're in a new paradigm. We're not punching bags anymore for the state, right? We have a new Attorney General who I personally talked to and invited up to Flagstaff, and she agreed to come out here. She was turned away by the weather. We seem to be having some pretty crazy weather every Tuesday this year, which is unfortunate, and I think that window of getting her attention was really small, and it may have closed for the time being. We're going to continue trying to get her up here, but she's hitting the ground running now and very busy with her actual job and not just campaigning. So we'll see where that goes. It was going to be really refreshing and nice to have that conversation before having this conversation, but here we are. It's a matter of urgency, and we need to get to this. And I'm glad that we're moving forward. But just know that we have a different situation at the state. We're not going to be, we have more power in our corner than we once did, and we're not well, I was going to, okay, I'm going to not say that. I don't want to trigger anybody. We have more power than we thought we did as recently as the recent past, and we should test that as much as we can. And so I will support any resolution that this council can agree on as a majority, but my recommendation is that we take it as far as we can in order to have the communities back. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So my colleagues and everyone who has spoken this evening have been so articulate. I know that I can't match your eloquence this evening, but there are a couple of things that I want to say. And the first is that I am firmly pro-choice, and that I share many of the sentiments that were expressed about why a city council would do a resolution, would pass a resolution, and I am, so we've had a couple of people have commented about that this is a value statement, and that by making a value statement, you don't represent the entire community. But what I would say to that is that every day we're making value statements up here. Our budget is a value statement. Our votes are statements of our values and where we want to put our time and attention and money. So I want the public to know that everyone was heard and considered, because maybe next time it's a topic where it's completely flipped, with people coming out and speaking in support of or against. I want the public to know that they were heard. I firmly believe, and it doesn't matter what I believe really, but that abortion is health care, and that a resolution by us issuing a resolution, we're not changing the law, nor are we breaking the law. We are stating what the majority of the Flagstaff City Council would like to communicate to the state and federal government about laws that they're passing. You said chew gum and walk at the same time. I had written down we can do multiple things simultaneously, and it's a good thing or nothing would get done in this city. And this is politically charged, but it shouldn't be, because these are medical decisions that should be made between a doctor and a patient. And so the next statement could be, so what business is it of yours issuing this resolution? But again, it's just our values. And since it has become politically charged, and we wish that that wasn't the case, but it is, I just want to go on record as stating, where my values lie. I'd like to again thank the public and thank my colleagues up here. I think that we had a really great conversation, a very respectful conversation, and I so appreciate it. And for everyone who shared a portion of a personal story to an entire personal story, thank you for giving that to us. I very much appreciate it. I, too, would like to see us support a resolution that is as strong as it can be. And City Attorney, do you have enough direction, or do you need council members to get more specific with what we are instructing staff to do?
I believe we have enough direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, thank you all for coming out this evening. Thank you for the work that you do in the community. Let's take a 60-second break just to breathe. I'm guessing you guys want to leave. And you're more than welcome to stay. But if you would like to leave, I'll give 60 seconds for the hustle and bustle of leaving, and we can all just take a break for 60 seconds. Oh, yeah.